Chapter 2, Part 2. 4 types of bonds, and they are covalent bond, ionic bond, hydrogen bond, and van der Waals interactions. Covalent bond is due to sharing of electrons between atoms. Ionic bond is due to transfer of electrons and is attraction between oppositely charged ions. Both covalent and ionic bond are interatomic bonds or intramolecular bonds. Hydrogen bond is a weak bond between one molecule and another molecule. This has to be an intermolecular bond because it is between molecules. Hydrogen bond is attraction between two polar molecules only. Van der Waals interactions are also weak bonds between molecules, that means intermolecular bonds, and these are attractions between non-polar molecules. So these are the 4 types of bonds. We'll see further details. So you can see here in this example, the 2 hydrogen atoms, each one has 1 electron in their valence shell, and each atom is looking for 1 more electron. So when 2 hydrogen atoms come together, they say that let's exchange the electrons. You give me 1 electron and I will have 2 electrons. So this atom will be happy for some time, but this is not happy. So this atom will give away that pair of electrons to this atom for a very small amount of time, but then it is happy. So this way, the 2 hydrogen atoms exchanging a pair of electrons have to stay close together, and this is called covalent chemical bond. So covalent bond is due to sharing of pairs of valence electrons. Thus, a hydrogen molecule is formed. When 2 hydrogen atoms share a pair of electrons frequently, then they are staying together. This association is called covalent chemical bond, and this group of atoms is called molecule, hydrogen molecule. Covalent bond is single, double, or triple depending on pairs of electrons that 2 atoms are sharing with each other. In hydrogen molecule, the 2 hydrogen atoms are sharing 1 pair of electrons, which is represented by a line between them. So this is the structural formula, which is representing the elements and the pairs of electrons that they are sharing with each other. Whereas H2 is a molecular formula, which is telling us how many hydrogen atoms are there in this molecule. So there are 4 ways of representing a molecule: the name, molecular formula, electron distribution diagram, and Lewis dot structure or structural formula. So 4 ways are name, molecular formula, Lewis dot structure, and structural formula. You need not worry about electron distribution diagram and space filling model for this course. PAC tendency. Hydrogen molecule shares one pair of electrons represented by a single line. In one oxygen molecule O2, two oxygen atoms share two pairs of electrons, so this is a double covalent bond. In one water molecule, an oxygen is sharing a pair of electrons with each hydrogen atom. So this is H2O. These are single covalent bonds, two single covalent bonds. Methane is one carbon sharing a pair of electrons with four hydrogen atoms. Each hydrogen atom, it is sharing one pair of electrons. So carbon is forming four single covalent bonds in this case. Make sure that you know what is the way or name of the representation of the molecule. This is name, molecular formula, Lewis dot structure, and structural formula. You may answer this question now. Pause the video and take your time to answer the question. Coming to what is bonding capacity. When an atom is in need of number of electrons, the number of unpaired electrons that are required to complete the valence shell, that is an atom's valence or its bonding capacity. In valence of hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon are 1, 2, 3, 4 respectively. In order to understand ionic bond, we should know what is electronegativity. Just like magnetism or magnetic power is property of a magnet, like that, atoms have attraction for electrons, and that property is called electronegativity. This is attraction for not only its electrons, not just its electrons. An atom, when it is attracting the electrons of another atom, another particle, this is called electronegativity. Fluorine, chlorine, oxygen, and some other elements in periodic table have high electronegativity. So remember, this is water molecule. Oxygen is sharing a pair of electrons with each hydrogen atom. Oxygen is a highly electronegative atom, and when oxygen is sharing a pair of electrons with hydrogen atom, that pair of electrons are spending more time with oxygen. So oxygen part of water molecule gets a little negative charge because this pair of electrons are spending more time with oxygen, because oxygen is attracting those pairs of electrons that it is sharing with hydrogen. And whenever oxygen is negatively charged, then our hydrogens naturally are losing the electron that they have, because oxygen is taking those electrons away. So hydrogen part of water molecule gets a little positive charge, which is represented by this delta plus. So in a single water molecule, oxygen side has delta negative charge, and each hydrogen atom in the water molecule has delta positive charge. This is due to electronegativity of oxygen, which is causing the shared pair of electrons to spend more time with itself. So this pairing or the sharing of electrons is occurring unequally, so this kind of covalent bond has a name. So this bond in water molecule between a hydrogen atom and oxygen atom is called polar covalent bond. Whereas in hydrogen, both hydrogens are equally attracting the pair of electrons, so they are equally sharing, and hence it is called non-polar covalent bond. Remember, polar covalent bond is unequal sharing of pairs of electrons by the atoms, because one is electronegative and the other one is not. In non-polar covalent bond, the two atoms are sharing a pair of electrons equally. That is why it is non-polar covalent bond. Same thing with oxygen. Two oxygen atoms are equally electronegative, so they are sharing the pair of electrons equally. So in oxygen molecule, hydrogen molecule, they are non-polar covalent bonds. In water molecule, each one is polar covalent bond. Pause the video and try to answer these questions. Coming to ionic bonds. When do atoms form ionic bonds? When atoms have high electronegativity, they're greedy for electrons that they are getting from other atoms or other particles, right? So when an atom is too greedy for electrons, it will simply take away the electron from another atom and it will never return. And this is the case in sodium chloride compound. When sodium gives away one electron to chlorine, because chlorine is greedy for electron, it has taken it away and never returned it. This is transfer of electrons, and this is causing the atoms to change to ions. What is an ion? Ion is not an atom. Ion is a charged particle. So when an atom loses or gains an electron, it is not neutral anymore, and that kind of charged particle is called ion. So you can see this is a sodium, soft metal. This is chlorine. Pure form of chlorine is gaseous in form. When you mix these two things in a test tube, then they together make a compound called sodium chloride, which is nothing but table salt. So you can see here sodium has 1 electron in its third orbit, whereas it likes to have 7 electrons. Chlorine in its third orbit, or third valence shell, or the valence shell, which is third orbit, has only 7 electrons. And because it is lacking 1 electron, when it is mixed with sodium, and chlorine being greedy, it will take away 1 electron from sodium. This causes unequal charges in a sodium particle. It has 11 protons and only 10 electrons after losing an electron, so it becomes positively charged ion. Positively charged ion is called cation. And chlorine, upon gaining that electron from sodium, remember it is greedy for electrons, so it gains the electron and it will keep it forever. But chlorine has 17 positive charges, and upon gaining it has 18 negative charges in its atom. It is not ion atom anymore, so it becomes an ion. Now it is a negatively charged ion. So whenever you cut an onion, you're not feeling very good. So think anion, onion is negative charge, and sodium is positively charged ion, cation. Remember, cations are positively charged particles. How do you remember? Think that you like cats, and whenever your pet comes near you, you feel that positive energy. So cation is positively charged particle. Cat lovers. Anion, onion cutting makes you cry. Negative charge, right? Negative energy. So negative feeling. So anion is negatively charged particle. These oppositely charged ions, because they are attracted to each other, they stay close together, and this attraction is called ionic bond. Ionic bond is due to transfer of electrons. And when two atoms of different elements, one is more electronegative and the other one is not, they come together and they transfer electrons like this, they form compounds. They are from two different elements, so they're definitely compounds. Remember, ionic bonds are always forming compounds, or they're also called salts. Remember the example for ionic bond: sodium chloride, NaCl. Is ionic bond weak or strong? Ionic bond is weak in water. Ionic bond is strong without water or outside water, or when it is not in water. Pause and answer this question. Most of the strongest bonds in organisms are covalent bonds that form a cell's molecules. Yes, when molecules are formed, they're small particles, and they all together form more complex structures so that they can form larger molecules. How are these molecules going to attract each other and make larger molecules so that they can form structures inside the cells, and they can form cells, and then organisms, and then humans, and big trees, and plants, and planet. So they are all due to hydrogen bonds and van der Waals interactions. Let's see what is hydrogen bond. In this picture you can see this is a polar molecule, which is water. Polar means it has charges, opposite charges. Remember, ion means it has only either a positive charge or negative charge, whereas polar means it has both the charges, both positive and negative, on the same unit. So this is polar molecule water, and this is also polar molecule ammonia, NH3. Nitrogen is also electronegative and like oxygen. So nitrogen, when it is associated with hydrogen, it does the same thing. It will attract the pairs of electrons more, so keeps those pairs of electrons longer with itself. So nitrogen side will have negative charge, hydrogen side will have a positive charge, not absolute but partial, represented by delta. So hydrogen part of water molecule is attracted to nitrogen side of ammonia molecule, and this is weak. Remember, this is partial charge. So partial positive charge of hydrogen in water molecule attracted to partial negative charge of nitrogen in ammonia molecule, represented by dots in our textbooks. This weak bond is called hydrogen bond. Why is this weak bond? Remember, this pair of electrons are being shared constantly. So this positive charge on hydrogen, this negative charge on nitrogen are not permanent. They are not absolute. They're partial. So this is continuously changing. So this bond will frequently break and reform. So this bond is weak bond. And this is called hydrogen bond. Why is it called hydrogen bond? It's because always hydrogen atom is involved. Hydrogen atom is associated in the molecule with an electronegative atom. So water molecules mixing with ammonia is because of those hydrogen bonds. In a single water molecule, there are how many hydrogen bonds? None. In a single water molecule, how many polar covalent bonds. In a single water molecule, there are two polar covalent bonds. Remember, in a single water molecule, there are no hydrogen bonds. Hydrogen bonds are between water molecules, or one polar molecule and another polar molecule. It has to be between polar molecules. So the attraction between a polar molecule and another polar molecule, the negative side and the positive side of different molecules. This weak attraction is called hydrogen bond. What are van der Waals interactions? Van der Waals interactions are the attractions between the non-polar molecules. So these carbons, they all have non-polar covalent bonds. All these lines are non-polar covalent bonds. Non-polar means, remember, the pairs of electrons are being shared equally by the atoms. So there is no polarity, there are no charges on this molecule, but these electrons swaying from one side to another side are definitely creating some kind of charges, or a charge on one side and the other side. They're quickly swaying. So this molecule is attracted to another molecule because of the swaying of electrons. And this is what happens in gecko. Gecko has non-polar molecules in its hair, on its paw, and the paint molecules on the wall also have non-polar molecules. And those non-polar molecules attracted to each other is called van der Waals interactions. This finishes our types of bonds and examples for each one. Shape of a molecule is very important for its function. Shape determines its function. Our endorphin receptors, they are shaped in such a way that they are going to allow for the medicine molecules to sit in them, and when they are when they bind to each other, they convey the signals so that our brain cells do not feel the pain anymore. So your natural endorphin and morphine, they both work in a very similar way because of its complementary shape to the endorphin receptor. The last concept in this chapter is chemical reaction. What is a chemical reaction? A chemical reaction is making of new bonds after breaking of old bonds in the molecules. In a chemical reaction, always whatever we write on the left hand side is called reactant or called reactants, and what we write on the right side of the arrow are called products. So this is a chemical reaction. 2H2 plus O2 gives 2H2O. This is how we represent a chemical reaction on paper. Two hydrogen molecules and one oxygen molecule, when they are mixed in a test tube, these are gases, when you mix them in a test tube, a reaction occurs which will form two water molecules, 2H2O. For this to happen, two oxygen molecules, they have to break their bonds. No, I'm sorry, one oxygen molecule has to break their covalent bonds, and two hydrogen atoms have to make their covalent bonds, and they rearrange, they bump into each other, and they're able to form two water molecules like this. So remember, always on left side of the arrow we write reactants, on right side of the arrow we write products. This is a way to represent a chemical reaction on a paper. This is the chemical reaction that you have to remember for your further chapters. This is carbon dioxide, 6 carbon dioxide molecules, 6 CO2 plus 6 water molecules, 6 H2O together will undergo chemical reaction in order to form one glucose molecule. It glucose, represented by the molecular formula C6H12O6 plus 6O2. In this process, oxygen molecules are released. So when plants carry out, the green parts of the plants carry out photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight or any kind of light, the carbon dioxide molecules and water molecules mix together in order to form food in their cells, and in this process they release oxygen. This is the chemical equation for photosynthesis. When you reverse this, then it becomes cellular respiration. For cellular respiration, you write C6H12O6 plus 6O2 on left hand side of the arrow, and you put an arrow, and on the right side the products that are formed for cellular respiration would be 6CO2 plus 6H2O. In this process, we are releasing energy from glucose and is distributed among approximately 32 ATP. That will be cellular respiration chemical reaction. Know the chemical reaction and make sure that you know it thoroughly by the time we reach to chapter 8, which is metabolism. So you need chemical reactions for both photosynthesis and cellular respiration for further chapters. This ends our chapter 2 PowerPoint.